Hi everyone, it's Vacha here from recordingstudio9.com and thanks for joining me again and welcome to 2016. Happy New Year to everybody. First, I'd like to take the opportunity to say thank you to all my subscribers and my followers and to all the people who have commented on my videos. I hope my replies are helpful for you, and that's the whole idea of my YouTube channel. And if you have any questions on any of my videos, feel free to comment and I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Today we are looking at comparing two audio interfaces that I regularly use, and we're going to look at it a little bit in depth and compare the two to see whether the price of each audio interface matches the quality that they provide. The first audio interface we're going to be looking at in depth and measuring its noise levels and frequency response is the PreSonus AudioBox 1818VSL, which is an 8-channel input and 8-channel output audio interface using USB 2 as its communication interface to a PC or a Mac. The other interface that we're going to be looking at again a little bit more in depth, even though I have covered a 5-part series on that audio interface, but this is going to be more like testing it and comparing it to the AudioBox 1818VSL. The second one is of course the Behringer Firepower FCA1616, again 8 input and output audio interface, which supports both USB 2 as well as Firewire audio communication. I will be plugging them both to my iMac, and there's a little bit of reason for that. And we're going to be running also Reaper like before to do a graph analysis to measure both the interfaces noise levels. Part of the test, I'll also be going to be connecting my RODE NT1 condenser microphone. It's pretty much the best microphone I have in my home studio, and rightly so. We'll love it. So we're going to plug that one in and compare between the two audio interfaces how each interface looks after the microphone and its output quality, noise levels, and so on. So the reason I'm using my Mac and not my new PC running Windows 10 for this test, because the AudioBox 1818VSL does not run correctly on my Windows 10 new PC. So, but it runs perfectly well on my iMac. So that's why, to be fair to both audio interfaces, I thought I'll run it on my iMac, knowing that there are no issues for both interfaces running on the iMac. So without any further ado, let's have a look at audio interface number 1, which is the PreSonus AudioBox 1818VSL. I have both interfaces sitting on top of each other on my desk, and they are both connected via USB cable to my iMac. To test the audio interface, what I have done in Reaper is added 2 tracks, one connected to the mic input 1, and the second track I've connected to the line input 3, so I can test both microphone input and line level inputs and compare them. To create a graph of the input signal coming in, I have my input effects Reaper FIR graphic display unit, as well as to my second one. Just going to enable record inputs, and what we're looking at here is the noise level of the AudioBox 1818VSL of the microphone, as well as the line level input. And as with specification, it's very, very low, while I have the trims all turned down for both input 1 and input 2. And we are looking at about 145 dB for the microphone input, and average about 145 dB for the line level as well. Now that is quite low. so it's inaudible. So what I'm going to do now is increase the input trim of the microphone without any microphone plugged in, and we'll be able to see what the noise level will be with the trim turned all the way up. Normally this will give us about 60 dB of gain. So we'll see how far the noise level will go up from minus 145 dB. I'm halfway through, and we are now looking at about 130 dB. And I'm all the way up, and we are looking average of about I'll say 100 dB. That's minus 100 dB of the audio interface's microphone level noise floor. Going to turn it back down, and let's try the same with the line level input. Now I expect it to be about similar noise floor. That's halfway, around 130 dB. Now it's all the way up, and we are looking about 102, minus 102, 100 dB or thereabouts. So it's still a very, very low noise floor for the audio interface. Now with AudioBox 1818VSL, we have one really great advantage. We have the VSL driver software, which is the Virtual Studio Live. If I bring it up, this is the driver for it. And we are looking at the inputs 1 and 2 up to 8. So what we can do is we can use the input FAT channels to even have more control of the sound coming in before we record it by pressing the post option here. So without the post option, anything that comes in from channel 1 for the microphone will be straight into our DAW. Any effects that we apply, whether if it's gate, compression and EQ, will not be recorded onto our DAW. But when we press this post DSP, that means any effects we apply here will reflect on what gets recorded in our DAW as part of the track. So we can utilize the gate to control even further of the noise. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to move the microphone bit here so we can see it. So now, looking at the FAT channel for the input 1, I'm going to turn the noise gate on, and it has a threshold of minus 75 dB. And watch what happens to the graph over here for track 1. It has completely disappeared. It's way below 150 dB. That's because the noise gate is completely cut off any preamp amplification and noise floor. So if I turn it back off, now it has come on again. You also will notice how we have this about 96 dB right down there. Don't even know how many, but 0 hertz. So it's got DC there as well. Guess what? We can use the filter here on our AudioBox 1818VSL to get rid of all of those bottom end and rumble. So I'm just gonna put it down to 18 hertz and turn it on. See how it all disappeared? So anything below 18 hertz, the high pass filter or low cut, high pass, meaning the same thing, actually gets rid of all of that bottom bit. No filter, it's there. I put a filter on and it's gone. Now I can even increase this frequency all the way up to 50 Hertz, and that pretty much removes everything below 50 Hertz at about 12 dB per octave. And we'll be able to use these two terrific input controls or plugins, the filter and the noise gate, to control an incoming microphone input level and have even better sound quality, silence, especially between words, between verses, and so on, or as an instrument being played, between each part of the instrument being played, have even more control. So now it's completely dead silent track we are recording. Of course, we can always go ahead and use compression and EQ as well. Sometimes I do use compression to be able to control a little bit of the dynamics of the sound coming in. Obviously, you always have to still watch out of any input clipping, because if once it clips, the compressor here will not have any effect because the input signal already clipped by the preamp, and this is after the preamp. And same with the EQ. Sometimes you can use the EQ to clear up any muddiness or give it some clarity of the microphone, and do pre-adjustment of the sound. So that's pretty good level 4 noise floor for the AudioBox 1818 VSL. I now have my RODE NT1 microphone connected to channel 1 input and phantom power turned on because it's a condenser microphone. My trim level is all the way down, and as you can see, we have no signal coming in. Well, tiny bit. You can tell from the graph how low it is. That's still at the moment, still at minus 144 dB. So now I'm just going to turn the volume halfway up, and my conversation microphone, I am quite far away from the microphone, so it's just picking up the room sound of the microphone, and that's the microphone level. And then I'm going to turn it all the way up. And now what we're hearing is basically pretty much the maximum volume, and I'm already clipping. So I'm just going to go quiet so we can have a look at the graph of the microphone with me being silent. And as you can see, looking around the 1 kilohertz signal, obviously there's still some ambient noise in my room, and we are still looking about minus 86 dB as sort of noise floor. But obviously this is the room noise, and it goes all the way down to, if we look at the higher frequencies, minus 100 dB or more. So it's very quiet microphone, the RODE NT1. Okay, I now have the Behringer Firepower FCA1616 connected, and we are looking at the inputs, mic number 1, and track number 2 is line number input number 5, channel 5. So now let's have a look at its graph. Well, its noise floor level is minus 140 dB on average, and I usually look around the 1 kilohertz, so it's about 140 dB for the microphone input, and looks like about the same for the line level as well. Now again, comparing to the AudioBox 1818 VSL, they're about the same level for noise floor with no nothing plugged into them. So I'm gonna turn on now the input trim for the microphone level halfway, then all the way up, and we'll see what the noise floor level will be with no microphone or any instrument plugged in. We are halfway through and we are looking about 133 dB. And all the way up we are looking at about average 110 dB or thereabouts, which is a little bit better than the AudioBox 1818 VSL by about 10 dB. So the Midas preamps on the Behringer FCA1616 looks like they're less noisy with nothing plugged in and 60 dB of input trim. Obviously I cannot do any input gain or trim for the line levels because they don't have any controls. It's straight through. So that's very, very good. Now comparing to the price between the two, the noise floor level works out really, really well. Next, let's plug in our RODE NT1 microphone and see what result we get for its output. Okay, now I have the RODE NT1 connected to channel 1 microphone input. I do have my 48 volt engage for the condenser, and that's sort of the level we are getting at trim being at the minimum. So I'm just going to go quiet so we can look at the graph. Now we increase the trim halfway. You can see the microphone becomes more sensitive and can pick up my voice as I speak. The ambient noise at 1 kHz is about minus 110 dB. Now we give it full 60 dB gain. And it is about minus 85 dB noise floor, which is my room ambience noise. So as you can see, my room is pretty quiet as well. There's not much noise in my room. Now let's engage the high pass filter, which is at 80 Hz. So we can see how it's got that downward effect to get rid of all the low rumble. Now it's off. You can see it goes up quite high. Let's engage it again. It's going to turn the volume down so I don't clip the input again. So that's how the quality of the Behringer's Firepower FCA1616 audio interface is, which supports both Firewire and USB, but currently connected as a USB to my Mac computer. You just seen an in-depth comparison between the PreSonus AudioBox 1818 VSL and the Behringer's Firepower FCA1616, where both have about same number of inputs and outputs and functionalities, apart from the fact that obviously the PreSonus one has the VSL driver software, which includes the FAT channel with high pass filter, and you can control the filter frequency, the gate expander, as well as a compressor, limiter, and the graphic equalizer. So those are the additional options in the AudioBox 1818 VSL, because let's face it, the floor level of each audio interface is about the same, and even the trims turned up. I guess the Firepower did outperform by 10 dB, to PreSonus, but at that level, you know, it's not something you can hear anyway. Now, the PreSonus AudioBox 1818 VSL, currently, they're about 700 Australian dollars to buy, compared to the Firepower FCA1616, which is about $350 to $400. So it's pretty much half the price of the AudioBox, but depending on how you want to control it, how you like to use it, you know, it could be really well worth alternative to the PreSonus one. So it all depends on what you want to use it for and how you want to use the interface, whether you want to go for PreSonus AudioBox or you want to go with Behringer's Firepower. You can view both and look at both. Now you know their performance as well. So hope that was helpful. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment below. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. And don't forget to subscribe. That way you're always kept up to date with any new video that I upload on my channel. Also, you can visit my website, recordingstudio9.com. So recordingstudio9.com. And there's a lot more information there as well as a free membership option. So once you become a member, you'll be able to comment, and more pages for members only pages open up. You'll be able to download audio tracks and a lot more information there as well. So visit recordingstudio9.com. And until next time, as always, thanks for watching. Cheerio.